Hey viewers, Joey Mesa here. So what we got here is a bike that this wheel is super crooked, and if you look at the gaps, pretty big gap there, pretty small gap there, maybe even rubbing the frame. These brakes are kind of twisted, but that's another story altogether. And then if we look down here, you can see that it's rubbing there. So kind of put this video together to address a post I saw on a YouTube, or not a YouTube, but a Facebook bike mechanic. Ask questions for bike mechanics or people who might know what's the problem here. And so saw a guy had a similar situation to this, and as far as from what I know, bought the bike secondhand from somebody. It was hanging from a rack, but it's the frame, the wheel's rubbing the frame there. And so of course you get all kinds of answers of, well, the frame's bent, the wheel's out of dish, check the spacers, this and that. So anyway, this looks like a very similar situation. I kind of cobbled this together to mimic what the guy in the post was his issue that he had going on. So let's we can make all kinds of assumptions, but let's just dive into this a little deeper, I guess you could say, and see what we can figure out. I'll show you what I would do first in this particular situation. I'm going to run through just 3 quick little things you can do to check, kind of to see what's going on with this situation. First and foremost, what I would, to the guy that had this problem, what I would do first is just simply undo the quick release lever, and obviously this one's pretty loose. I mean, if we just go back to quick release skewer 101, you got your nut here, you got your skewer, 180 degrees of rotation. You want to tighten that guy to where when you're about midway through, you can definitely feel some resistance. This one I can easily move it with my finger. So if this bike were, let's say, hanging from a hook by the back wheel or both wheels, it could easily pull that wheel loose like this. So, but let's just start off by pulling that loose. I'm going to set the bike up straight. Just going to push down on the seat. Manipulate these brakes a little bit, and with the wheel all the way squarely as far as it'll go up in the dropouts, let's tighten this skewer just a touch. Lock her down, and voila, it's centered top to bottom. We don't have to redish the wheel, the frame's fine. That's the first thing I would check. To me, the wheel looked like it was just in there crooked. It was hitting on this side here, and then down on the chainstay on the left side there. So yeah, that's the first thing, number one, to check. Let's say you got a flat, you put your wheel back in, and now it's crooked like that, and you just can't get it straight. Let me show you another common issue that I see pretty frequently. Folks that have pulled the wheel out for whatever reason kind of struggle to get it back in, and what can cause that problem. Alright, so potential issue number 2. We've got our, see if we can get this in focus here. We've got our quick release skewer. That would be the correct orientation of how the quick release spring would go. You got there's a little cup within the like the quick release body itself, and then on the other end, you got your nut and then the spring. So what I'll see a lot is people maybe will take the wheel off and they have the whole skewer removed, and so rather than having this spring where it butts up against the small end of the axle there, it'll be positioned like that. That seems logical, right? Put it on and put it up in the frame, but what happens is the dropouts where they go into this, this axle is 10 millimeters in diameter, which matches, the dropout is slightly bigger for that to slip into. But if you have this spring over the axle, it won't go quite all the way in there. So when you try to pull the wheel up into the frame, you'll have that same crooked situation. So yeah, you'd be surprised how many wheels I see in the shop. The wheels are crooked and that spring's just on backwards. So put the spring on just like so. The small end butts up against the axle. The big end fits into that little cup, into this nut, or on the other side, the little quick release lever. So that's the other thing I would check, and if that's good, the wheel feels like it's all the way in the frame and it's still crooked, I'll show you one other thing you can check, and yeah, we can kind of go from there. Third thing to experiment with. Let's just say, we have our wheel in here. If you are taking your wheel off, it's always good to have it on the small cog to get it on and off. But let's just say I put this wheel in and it's set over to maybe to this side, but then also it's down to this side on the or on the right side on top and bottom. So a quick little thing you can do is just to with that wheel loose, pull it out of there, turn the wheel around, and just do a quick mock-up and put it in the frame the other direction. This is a little difficult because I don't have it on a stand or anything. I don't have any assistance. But that, we should be able to get it up in there. So yeah, same thing. And it's centered. It's kind of hard. This thing with video is, you can look at this and make all your diagnostics and assumptions and whatever else, but I don't know how clear that is, but you can see it's centered pretty well both ways. So what that's going to tell me right off is that the wheel is dished, the frame is straight. Now, let's say, for example, that wheel was sitting over this side before, with it all the way squarely in the dropouts, springs are correct. Let's say we flip this around and it's still sitting over that side, rubbing both. We put the wheels in both directions. If it's still rubbing on this side, that's going to tell us our frame there's something wrong with the alignment on the frame. If it's going over to this side now, it's close to that side, and that's going to tell us we've got an issue with the wheel being out of dish. So we get into that second set of things where it's, the frame's bent or the wheel's out of dish. A wheel that's out of dish is a pretty simple fix. You can take that to a bike shop, and any decent bike shop should be able to fix that for you. If the frame's bent, if it's an older steel frame, it may be something that's repairable. If it's an aluminum frame like this one, you're pretty well, honestly, you're probably better off just to look for another frame or another bike or whatever. It's going to be the path of least resistance. But anyway, yeah, hopefully maybe this cleared some things up. Another thing is a dual pivot brake like this. If your wheel is rubbing one side of the brake, you can manipulate this brake, and then just by hand, and then there's a 5 millimeter hex bolt in there. If that's moved very freely by hand, you want to snug that down. But yeah, so anyway, hopefully this might have cleared up some of these questions, and maybe make it a little easier to diagnose this situation without jumping to conclusions. And yeah, any other questions, you can always feel free to send me questions on my YouTube channel, and I'll make a video about it. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.